Patil, and I'm based out of Pune, India, and I'm working in a telecom company in India. And I'm also working as external consultant and dealing with leadership sessions associated with What's Creation, and that is the platform that I've came through. And I have done my engineering, and then I went for MBA from IIM Kozhikode, and now I'm dealing with also growth leadership and how to develop young leaders in the society. So let's get started with the session. So the topic of the session is leadership mindset in digital transformation. Let this be the most interactive session that has ever been in this summit, and we'll get right away started with this. So let me just throw one question to all of you, and that question is, it could be any buzzword that you have heard about digital transformation or technology. Let's get in some ideas from the listeners who are in this panel. What do you think? What is that buzzword that you have came across during this time? It could be, for example, I'll give you one word, that is cyber security. There has been a lot of talk about cyber security, a lot of talk about machine learning. So let me ask the viewers, what do you think? What is that buzzword that is going on in the industry right now? Let us have 5 seconds for this, and then we'll start the session. Okay, so while you are thinking on that, let me start, and then you can throw in your answers for that. So when we talk about digital transformation, a lot has been talked about cyber security, artificial intelligence, machine learning, net neutrality, and whatnot. But this session is not going to be about all those buzzwords. This session is going to be about the leadership mindset, and that is important in digital transformation. So let me first start with what is digital transformation. As I told you, I have spent a decade of my corporate experience transforming the way companies work. And thanks, Dipali, for that. Internet of Things, wow, blockchain. I just love those words. So we'll take this up in the last. But what first we would start is, so what is digital transformation? Digital, as simple as basic, it could mean transforming from analog to digital. So when we use this word 0 and 1, then we go towards digital. But is that it? No. Actually, digital transformation is the overall adoption of digital technologies to digitize non-digital products. A lot of big words there. Let me simplify it. So while we are increasing capacity in our systems, while we are augmenting the database and the systems, that is not transformation. That is just optimization. And believe me, optimization is not transformation. So when we talk about digital transformation, now each and every field are undergoing some kind of transformation when it comes to digital products. So let us think that why do we actually need this? Is there a urging need to do digital transformation? The answer is yes. What happens if the companies do not do digital transformation? So a lot of companies have undergone this. They have stick to their traditional methods, and they have lost relevance in market. And when we talk about digital, it is, in conventional terms, it is 5 times faster than the traditional models which the companies are using. There's a competitive advantage of going digital. And nowadays, young talent and the existing talent, they are upskilling themselves, they are cross skilling. So if we are not giving them the right artillery, so it will be very tough for us to retain those talent, to attract those new talent who are already in the know-how and already using those technologies. So now that we have established that we have to transform our company, our organization, our industry, and whatever we are using, not only on the organizational level, but also at the individual level, we have to transform and utilize this digital products. According to Forbes, 84% of the digital transformation projects that are going on in the industry, they are a big failure. So out of 100 projects that are going on, 84 are failing. Why? Because of one word, that is unidirectional approach. Their approach is kind of unidirectional. So when we talk about a management or senior authority, we usually come across these people who have spent almost 2 decades in the industry or 3 decades and are all on the verge of maybe retirement, and they have kind of a set pattern how they think. So it is very difficult to convince them towards going digital. And these are some of the challenges that the companies are facing. 33% of them are facing a silos mindset kind of challenge. So when we talk about workforce, there are multiple communities, there are multiple fields, verticals that are working in the company. So for example, in my company, we have marketing, IT, HR, finance. So if all of them are working in silos and if they are not communicating, so we are not getting a collaborative effort. And that is why 33% of the companies are failing at this level. 27% of them are struggling because of the indecisive mindset. And let us not take this digital transformation as a 1 year or a 2 year project. It might take 5 years, it might take 10 years. And I would repeat the word 10 years. Why? Because in the end, when we would be taking up the case study of a classic example of a failure of digital transformation, then we will realize that the company had specific timeline of 10 years to go from traditional to digital, and they did not, and they failed. So you need a lot of support from your senior management, and we need a lot of overall management and not the micro management, because for going from traditional to digital, we have to have an open mindset. And as it is rightly said, mind and parachute work only when they are open. So now that we know digital transformation is important, let me ask the viewers, just name one leader, any one leader. Since we are discussing about leadership mindset, whatever name that comes in your mind, just type it down in the chat box. Who is that one leader that inspires you, that motivates you, that you have looked up to? It could be your father, mother, it could be CEO of any company, it could be prime minister of any nation, anyone. So while you are writing down the answers, let's get down to discussing what is leadership. So when we talk about leader, as Oxford defines, it is the action of leading a group of people or an organization. Simple and bookish definition, but it is a bit more than that. Leadership is about taking risks, it is about challenging the status quo. And as Forbes defined it, leadership is a process of social influence which maximizes the effort of others towards the achievement of a goal. So now that we know what is digital transformation and what is a leader, let's have our very first poll, and I would request Yash to roll out the first poll that we have, so that we could get some answers from the viewers. Okay, so while the poll is running out, you can answer. And now what we would be discussing is, so everybody knows about Hitler. So how many of you think Hitler is a leader, or he is a good manager, or he is an influencer? What do you think? So the poll is out. You can put in your answer yes or no. So when we talk about leaders, when we talk about managers, there's a fine line between leader and manager. I'm sure in your career, in your lifetime, or at your school, college graduation, you might have had somebody to report to while we are working in teams generally. So if we are working under a manager, is he or she a leader? That is the question we need to ask. Because when managers are speaking, when managers are telling you something, you feel they are important. Whatever a manager is saying is important. But what the difference between a manager and leader is, when leader speaks, he or she makes you feel that you are important. And that is the difference, how leaders create more leaders. And there are various evaluation that is being done on organization level. In many organizations, we have the 5-factor test. In many organizations, we have the 16 multi-factor examination that is being done to identify if he's a leader. So I can see Rajiv has said that he was a dictator. Good, thank you for that answer. We'll take it up later. So when I talk about leadership, to be a great leader, you need the right mindset. So again, this question comes: is leader born or is a leader made? So obviously, human, when they are at the childhood, we could identify that this person is going to be a good leader, this person is going to manage a lot of organizations, create innovations and whatnot. So this is a good debate to think whether a leader is born or made. And let me tell you, the answer is not born. A leader can be made, the mindset can be changed. Obviously, there are some genetic capabilities that the people have grown into. But then over the time, we have realized that through right training, through right mindset, we could bring in and we could build leaders in our organization. And I would throw a light on the study that was done by Harvard Business School in the organization. On an average, on annual, roughly $350 billion are spent on LDP. So LDP stands for Leadership Development Programs. A lot of companies are trying to make leaders, trying to force leadership skills down the throat of their managers, but they are not getting relevant results. And out of these companies, 75% of them feel that whatever efforts that they are taking, it's going in vain. It is not effective at all. So what is this? Why is it happening? Why the companies are not getting what they are trying to get? It is because of one key attribute, and that is their mindset. So your mindset are like leaders' mental lens. Whatever input they take, whatever in output they give, what how they interpret resources, people, that defines the mindset of a leader. And I would like to ask one more poll, and how many of you have undergone any kind of leadership development program at any point of stage? Maybe it could be at your high school level or in organization, or have you taken any outside help while undergoing any leadership development programs? I know I have been a part of couple of programs at while I was working in the organization Aditya Birla Group, and there we had dedicated centers where we could nominate ourselves and undergo on a 2 days or a 1 week or one month training sessions, and those sessions are really good. So now that we know that mindset is really important for building a leader, let us think of the different kinds of mindset. There is a plethora of words that we can use here, but in this session I would be dealing with 5 mindsets, and the very first is growth mindset. So when we talk about growth mindset, it is the opposite of fixed mindset. As I told you, when we listen to senior authority, senior management, or when we refer to managers at higher organizations, we generally tend to see people who have a lot of experience and lot of non agility. So it is difficult for us to convince them towards growth. So a leader has to have a growth mindset. It helps in taking on new challenges, it helps in taking advantage of the feedback, and they are persistent in trying something new. And only those mindset people are prone to growing the organization, the people, and the systems toward leadership. The next mindset that we want to talk about is the learning mindset. Now, if your mind is kind of not frugal, not agile, and you're not ready to take in new inputs from other people, then you are not ready to learn. And if you're not ready to learn, you're not ready to grow. So if only when we engage in deep level learning strategies, we are able to grow our mind, we are able to grow our network. So the very first we dealt with was growth mindset. The second was learning mindset. The third is visionary mindset. So now these leaders, they generally analyze the patterns, the organizations, and the people on 3 different timelines. The first is the past. What has the company undergone and what has been the past of the company? Second is the present, where we are standing right now. Are we at on a market level? So are we a beginner, a first mover, or are we mature, or are we going towards decline? So the past along with the present has to be analyzed. And the third is the future, where you would want to take your company, where you want to take your organization, where do you want your resources, your people to go. So that is the visionary mindset. And also when we talk about long-term goals, we generally fail in anticipating what is going to come. And since a lot of these things are digital in market, so we have to have an anticipatory mindset, because we can think of what is going to come and take advantage of those situations. So we have to have a visionary mindset. The fourth one is, and I would tell you about the mindset, what the fourth point is. But before that, let me tell you about a study that was conducted. So, the Silicon Valley of India, that is Bangalore, there a set of entrepreneurs were called, and all these people, the CXOs, the founders, were on the verge of taking their company to unicorn. So while talking about these entrepreneurs, they brought these people in a room and they had a discussion. At the end of that conference, they were given kind of a questionnaire, a test. And out of 8 of them, 7 of them responded with one factor that is very critical for them to grow, to become a potential unicorn to an actual unicorn. And that one word that all the 7 out of 8 responded was networking. So your network is your net worth. And for that, you need to have the fourth mindset, and that is the collaborative mindset. Only when we are working in a collaboration, we could have meaningful conversations and we could have constructive collaboration. And that is the mindset that everybody has to have when we are trying to become a good leader. Then the last is the feedback mindset. And for this mindset, I have a really interesting story that happened back in 2000. So in childhood, all of us have had the opportunity of playing with Legos. So Lego or Lego, as it called in some countries. So Lego were small toys, kind of a building blocks, and you could put them one above the other, and you could make whatever you have in your mind. So for this, for this there has to be creativity going on in your mind. The fundamental pieces are the same. The Lego size and blocks and all those are same given to each individual. But what comes out as output is drastically different, because given the same set of Legos, one kid would be making a vehicle, an ambulance or a car. The other would be making hospitals, buildings. The other would be making humans and toys and whatnot. So this was taken in as a huge insight, and this turnaround came with the newly appointed CEO of Lego, that was Georgian Wick. And over the following decade, when he came, Lego went back to its core value proposition and aligned its operational, technical, and marketing processes. So what was happening was they understood that they could not give in definite designs. They could not design, this is our top 5 toys or top 10 toys. So what they did, they opened it up to the public, and they took their inputs, and based on that, when there was transparent voting, then they decided that these are the top 5 toys that the kids want in market, and then they launched it. So this was a kind of a mindset where feedback was taken in very creatively and with an open mind. But out of all the 5 mindset that I have talked about, that is growth, learning, visionary, collaborative, and feedback, of all the mindset, I think there is one key factor that is important for any leader to grow, or for that matter, thrive in any organization. For example, when you talk about growth, so it is not necessary that every time your company or your organization would be growing on a steady pace. There might be situations where you face an crisis, and in those crisis term, how the leader reacts is very important. When there is a visionary mindset, we have long term visions, short term, we have our values in place. But if those values are taken down, if there is any mishap in the company, if there is any mishap in the organization, in the market, so how do leaders respond? When we talk about collaborations, we have seen a lot of attrition is there in industry. And when I talk about telecom, it's more than 20% when it comes to 2 or 3 players in the market. So talking about these mindset, there is one key factor that is important for anybody to grow, and that is emotional intelligence. So only when a leader has high EQ, he can take in the help of all the other mindset. And this has been very beautifully dealt in a book, that is Emotional Intelligence, that is written by Daniel Goleman. So in this book, he deals about 4 kinds of domains when we talk about emotional intelligence. The very first is self-management. First of all, you have to be aware of yourself, and you have to be able to manage yourself. By managing yourself, I mean, how do you manage your emotions? So let's say we had a plan of a successful brand launch. We had everything in place. We aligned all the entire teams, and there was a media release that was going on about our next big innovation, about our year-long creativity that we poured in making into a new product. And suddenly, while you were sitting in your office, and the news comes that the competitor has already launched that product the same morning. So in this, you had everything in place, but at that point of time, how do leaders react is very important, because the DNA of a CEO is how the entire organization aligns. So at that time, if you react, if you panic, and if you go out of the way, then there would be problems even for your employees and the organization as a whole. So at that time, you need to have a high EQ, because you need to control your emotions first. Do not panic, assess the situation, and then react. So that is what Daniel Goleman in his book talks about: self-awareness and self-management. Now, the third things which he talks about is social awareness. So now that we are able to manage our emotions, we have to be aware of the emotions of the others, of our people, our resources, and we have to be able to manage. That is the fourth point. That is social management or relationship management. So how do you manage their emotions? Because in this example, when there is a abrupt brand launch, it not only affects you, because it affects the entire organization, because they are also the people who have been working in this, and obviously they are also panicking. So the first response that you respond at that time, defines whether you have a high IQ or a low IQ. At that moment, if you panic and if you create a havoc, then that means you have a low IQ. But if at that moment you stay calm, you sit back, you smile, and then you tell your employees that once we have overcome this challenge, it will be a great story that we tell to our grandkids. That means you have a high IQ, you are able to manage your emotions and other emotions as well. So when I talk about this, I have one more example, and that is about the CEO of a very big company, that is Microsoft, Mr. Satya Nadella. So this Indian American, what he did in before his term, during 2001 to 2014, the market capitalization and stock prices of Microsoft, they remained largely stagnant. There was no growth. In 2014, this guy comes, he takes over the company, and he brings in that this has to be a mission to revamp the leadership and culture. So that is how his growth mindset came into picture, and its primary focus was how to revamp Microsoft. And during this, there's a beautiful book written by Mr. Satya Nadella. I would urge my audience, if they know the name of the book, please note down the name of the book in the chat box. So with this leadership, the company's market capitalization and stock prices more than tripled, and that is how his mindset helped the company rise towards the. So I can see many people are trying to type. I would still not reveal the name of the book. It's a beautiful read. So and in the earlier discussion, I asked if Hitler was a leader or not. Hitler was an influencer. He was able to influence a large number of people. But did he have good intentions? No. So that is where emotional intelligence comes into picture, and we expect high IQ from our leaders, from our managers, and how they take the company, their resources, and their people, and they steer towards the ship of digital transformation. Well, when we talk about EQ, there's one more question that comes into picture, and that is IQ. Generally, IQ is the measure of comprehension ability or memory or math skills. But during studies, it has been found the average IQ that is noted is around 85 to 115. So this IQ comes in the average. Now people generally think of leaders as having high IQ, but that is not the case. When the IQ rises above 115, the score of 115, and when it starts going towards 120 or 130, those people have been generally thought to as having low EQ, and they are not good leaders. They would be very good in their whatever work they do. So while we are young, we are being trained to be good accountants or good agents or good communicator and all and whatnot. But they are being they're capable of developing their own skills, but they are not capable of developing skills of others, and that is where EQ comes into picture. I have now I have very amazing case study that I've been dealing. I usually tell in all my sessions, and that is the classic case study of Kodak. So what happened in Kodak? Everybody knows Kodak was the first in launching the cameras and the analog, and they had their films that was sold. So Kodak cameras were sold at very cheap margin, but the film was sold at a very higher margin, and that is how the company roped in all the profits. And in 1975, one of their engineers, Stevens, he came up with one innovation, and he told to senior management that, look, hey guys, I have this amazing idea of digital photography. So at that time, the senior management was, they were building factories, and day by day they were investing in a lot of machinery and how to build cameras and films and whatnot. But they were not visionary enough to see this innovation as the next big thing. So they discarded his idea and they did not approve it, and rest is history. So now we know that digital photography is the thing that we are using. But back in those days, in 1975, the leadership at that point of time, they did not have a growth mindset, they did not have the visionary mindset, and they lost in one critical mindset, and that is the feedback mindset. They were not ready to take in the feedback by one of their very expert engineer, who told that, see, I have made this camera, we have to apply for patent, and then we could go boom in the market. But no, they did not do that, and the rest is history. In the year of 2012 January, Kodak filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So what is the takeaway from this case study is, acknowledging change is not enough. You are aware of the change, but did you act No. A company needs to embed that change into practices, culture, and processes in order to realize its full potential. When it comes to digital transformation, leaders need to engage in the process and look at it how it can be integrated to drive digital maturity. And that is where Kodak failed. So now, as I told you, I've been working in telecom. I have one more very beautiful example of how we changed the lives of many. I'm sure all of the viewers who are here, they are using mobile phones, smartphones, and they are using one or the other telecom operator. It could be anyone. So when we talk about India, we have Airtel, Jio, and Vodafone Idea. So what happened in back in those days when I joined and I was working in sales. So in sales, I was working on ground with the people, with the retailer, salesman, and the customers. So whenever you lose your SIM card, so or it is damaged or it is not working, so it is you walk into any store, you fill out a 2-page form, you submit your photographs, and that form goes to the activation officer. And after 2 days, you are given your new SIM card, and then you are able to make calls and send SMS. So what was happening in the market was this was a physical manual process where your a physical form is filled and whatever charges are taken, and then it goes to the officer. So what we did at that point of time, we thought of launching a mobile app, and through a mobile app, the customers could fill in all the information in the application, and specifically not the customers, the retailer. So if you're going to the retailer, to the shopkeeper, or to the Vodafone Idea or Airtel stores, they would open the mobile app and they would just enter your mobile number. Once their mobile number is entered of the customer, the entire detail is filled in that application that you were filling it physically in the form. And using that information, because it is already stored in our database, we could do the entire process of SIM exchange in just 15 minutes, because there was one OTP that has to be verified and everything else is verified. And we just took the pictures of the customer with the help of mobile app. So what happened here, there was a physical process that was transformed digitally. Even while doing this, obviously we cannot our retailers or customers to adopt these practices immediately. So we have more than 22 circles in India. So we launched it circle by circle and tried educating the customer and the retailers that this is a very easy process and it is fast also. So the tech savvy people obviously endorsed it and went with the run, but the people, the older generation, they were very not tech savvy and they were not prudent to these technologies. So there were a lot of challenges at that point of time which we faced, and especially in this state where I am, that is Maharashtra, we faced a lot of challenges because in Maharashtra this company had a dominance in rural market, and in rural market the people are not that tech savvy. So what we did, and we could see that there were a lot of frauds also. So earlier what happened, these retailers, they generally have the photographs of the customers. So what they would do, they would open the application, they would click photographs from the photographs and then submit and then complete their monthly target. So for that also we brought in one more digital change that helped us reduce fraud. So when I say the word fraud, it is not just 50 rupees or 100 rupees fraud. For every fraud that happens in the market, the company is liable to pay more than 50,000 rupees for one fraud. So that was a huge amount that the company was dealing with. So what we did, we just implemented one small change in the application. So every time the customer stands in front of the camera of the mobile app, so now the mobile app would not click when you press on the button, but it would click only when the customer blinks their eye. So this was a very small innovation that we did, and it helped us reduce a lot of frauds that were going on in the market. Now the customer has to be present in front, or if the people are old age, then the retailer has to go to their home, and that is the service that we provide. But we eradicated one small change, one fraud, and then that helped us save a lot of money that was earlier going to be as penalty for us. So this was a small SIMEX digitalization project that we did. But for this also we had to convince a lot of our senior leadership, because obviously it involves a lot of resources, a lot of investments. And one more example I would like to tell in this application only, because when we talk about retail market in upcountry markets, so there generally the retailers and the customers, they had very high end mobile phones, taking lot of capacity even for clicking one photograph. So we noticed that one photograph that was around 2 MB or 5 MB, it was jamming my systems, it was jamming my CIMEX databases, because that photograph would travel and sit on my database, and it would consume some memory. So for that also we implemented one change. We thought of cropping the pictures and taking only bite-sized images required for the processing of the CIMEX. So when I talk about CIMEX done in telecom market, both your ears and eyes should be visible while we are taking photographs. So we ensure that only those parts of the face is visible, and that is how we eradicated this problem also. So this was one another digital transformation that we did, and we saved a lot, and we helped a lot of our customers. Now when I talk about people that are building leaders and building a lot of managers to be future savvy, tech savvy, we have to look into a lot of leaders also who have told about digital transformation. For example, as we talked about Lego, there's one more company that has changed the way how customers look at applications. So and that company is Lenskart. So when I talk about Lenskart, earlier you have to walk into the stores physically and try the spectacles and goggles, whatever you want to buy. This experience Lenskart changed with the help of their mobile applications. So what they did, with the help of app that you have in your mobile, you can just open the application and click your photographs, like clicking a selfie, and their application would digitally put a spectacle in your picture and show you how it looks. And let me tell you, it is not a static picture, it is a 3D imaging. So if I'm clicking, I have to click from three different sides, left, right, and front, and then it would put the spectacles, and then I could have a look how it would feel. And the entire industry of spectacle buying is now changed with the help of Lenskart AI applications. Another company that very beautifully implemented digital transformation was Nike. So while we are buying shoes, and it's a tedious task, when you are walking into a store and trying to try different shoes. So what Nike did was, again, with the help of their mobile app, you can click pictures of your leg, and it analyzed 13 specific data points of your leg. And with the help of that, you can get a feel of how your legs would look in that particular shoes. And it is very easy to try different shoes when you're using mobile application, as opposed to when you are in a physical store and struggling to change your shoes one by one. And in the last, I would like to tell one more huge case study that I usually tell in my lectures, and that is of Disney. So everyone knows about Disneyland and the experience they create in their amusement parks, and that is a lot of people have it in their bucket list. So what they did, they put a $1 billion bet on their wristband, on their magic band. So every time you enter Disney park, Disneyland, you would be given a magic band, kind of a wristwatch, and it is kind of preloaded with the amount of money that you recharge. And it is very beautifully made of a Mickey Mouse face. And at every counters, there are Mickey Mouse face, and you can just tap in, and you can enter the rides, you can enter their hotels, you can pay for your food and whatnot, you can for their merchandise. So this was small innovation that was did at Disneyland, and it created a huge impact. And that is how these companies are continuously putting in a lot of resources, money into developing, creating some kind of digital change with the help of leaders. So this was, and as we told, as while growing up, we are more into becoming good at mathematics, good at English, or good at social science. What we are doing is we are being a good resource. We are studying, we are going for higher studies, we are becoming good resources. But for becoming a leader, we need to build resources. We need to inculcate those habits in our resources, in our people, in our talent pool that we have. So from being skillful to building skillfulness is what we are looking at when we talk about leaders mindset. And when we talk about leader, so it's a very famous saying in sales. When I started in sales, when I'm working in market, if I have to be present every time for any kind of sales activity or distribution activity or channel activity, that means I am working as a salesman, but not as a sales manager or as a leader. Only when I'm sitting comfortably at distribution center or my company or at my home, and even then the sales is going on in the market, kind of in automated fashion, only then you are a good leader, you are a good manager. And that is how we try to create leaders in our community. And for that we do a lot of networking, we go for networking sessions, we go for community building, and we go for seminars where we talk in people and see what they are doing in their company and try to inculcate that habits, those practices into our organization and as well. So a lot of talk about leaders and mindset and digital transformation. I would like to ask the audience if they have any questions so that we can dwell more on this topic. So I would just open the floor for the audience. And yes, maybe you can help if have you spotted any questions that people want to deal with. All right, so I can see 75% of people have responded that yes, Hitler was a leader, no doubt. So he was a leader, but with the leader with the bad intention. And I can see the poll of the second. Undergone any one leadership program? Yes. Nowadays, every company and every organization are undergoing leadership programs. And if you have not been a part of one, become a part of one, nominate yourself, talk to your manager, and get involved in these kinds of activities. All right, and everybody, almost 100% of them have worked under a manager or a reporting authority. All right, great. Yes, so Deepali got it right. The name of the book that I was talking about is Hit Refresh, and that is written by Satya Nadella, the CEO of, with a network of $350 million in the market, the CEO of Microsoft. All right. So now that we have known a lot of about the mindset of a leader, let me check or let me try to analyze the leadership qualities that you have. So yes, if we could present the screen to the audience and then they could start scoring themselves on leadership traits. So there are generally a lot of leadership questionnaire or examinations that is going on. But let me tell you, it is not very easy to define a leader or to judge somebody on their leadership skills. Still, psychologists have came up with a lot of questions and a lot of answers and how one leader responds in different situations. So is the screen visible to all? Maybe Yash can help me in presenting the screen. Yes. All right. So this is just a simple strongly agree or strongly disagree type of questions. So 5 means you strongly agree with the statement, and 1 means you strongly disagree with the statement. So these are the 5 questions. And so I'm not revealing which kind of leadership trait are we talking about, but I would request all of you to read, and with you, I will also try to answer these questions. So the very first question is, you don't have to take a lot of time, just answer 1 or 5 in a split second. So the question 1 is, employees need to be supervised closely or they are not likely to do their work. That was question number 1. The second is, and in the end, I would request whoever is scoring to, put down their scores in the comment box. So the second question is, it is fair to say that most employees are lazy. So what is your reply on that? All right. The question number 3 is, most employees feel insecure about their work and need direction. Only split second to answer. No need of thinking lot. Just whatever comes in your mind first. If you agree, strongly agree, 5. If you don't, then 1. Question number 4. As a rule, supervisors must be given rewards or punishment to motivate them. Okay. And the last question is, the supervisor is the chief judge of the achievements of the members of the group. All right. So let me do one thing. Whatever scores that you have done, whatever you are given to these answers, try to sum it up of all these answers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you have given 2, 3, 2, 3, try to sum all these scores and just put what is your total score of this. So out of 5 questions, if you have given 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, the lowest score that would come is 5, and the highest it could come as 25, and the median and the average, if we take, it is around 15 to 20. Okay, so this kind of question generally deals with a leadership trait that is more prone towards autocratic. So when I say autocratic, these are people who think that leadership means delegating work. These are the people who think that the managers, the supervisors, or the resources, they have to be told each and everything. They think they are the chief judge. They think that rewards and punishment are necessary part of the development of their organization or the work that they assign to delegates. So this is the first leadership style, that is autocratic. So I'm sure you have scored yourself. So the lowest is 5 and the highest could go up to 25. If you're falling in the higher range, that means you follow an autocratic leadership style. If you're falling in the lower range, that means you probably this trait is less predominant in you. There is some other kind of leadership that you deal with. Okay, so I would just deal with one more slide and tell you one another set of questions. So the ask is clear. You have to rate the 1 or 5, and then you have to sum it up, and the score that comes, it should lie between 5 or 25. Okay, so now you can see the slide number 2. I would just read on the questions. Question 1: employees want to be part of the decision making process. So if you think that employees are an important part, and if you think that employees can be given charge of the decision making process, then you put in as 5 or you put in as 1. All right, second question: providing guidance without pressure is the key to being a good supervisor. So you feel that supervisors or your employees have to be provided guidance without pressure. If you feel that, if you strongly feel that, then rate yourself as 5 or as 1. And the third is, most employees want frequent and supportive communication from their supervisors. It's basic English, so it could mean different for different people, but let me simplify. So here we are talking about frequent collaboration and frequent communication with our supervisors and our resources, and trying to work with them. So if you feel that this is important, then you put in 5 as your answer or else 1. And the next question is, it is the supervisor's job to help employees find their passion. So if you feel that it is your responsibility to help them find their passion, to help them explore what they want in life and in their career, then put in as 5 or else 1. And the last question is, supervisors need to help employees accept responsibility for completing their work. Okay, so now that these kinds of questions, obviously you might have got the hint of which kind of leadership are we talking about here. So here a lot of decision making power and a lot of working capital is put in the resources itself, in the supervisors itself, and you being there are kind of a leader who is dealing with these people in a collaborative way and trying to break those silos and create meaningful communication. And obviously, because you are doing this, you are able to land into kind of a constructive collaboration where the resources are coming up with something big, something innovative, something valuable. So this kind of leadership that we do, these questions are generally asked in the second set, that is the democratic. So when we talk about democratic, the leaders generally believe that people are capable of building themselves, people are capable of developing new ideas, and you are accepting them with an open mind and obviously encouraging them. So this is the second leadership trait, that is democratic. All right. So I have one more slide to before we end this session, and that is very interesting. And I want you to take part in this also. And here it goes. Okay. So this kind of leadership is maybe less prevalent when we talk about leader, but it is also one leadership trait. And the question one for this is: in complex situations, supervisors should let employees work problems out on their own. All right. The next question is: leadership requires staying out of the way of employees as they do their work. Okay. And third question is: as a rule, leaders should allow employees to appraise their own work. So if you believe that freedom should be given to the employees while doing their work, then you put in as 5 or you put in as 1. And the last question for this set of leadership trait is, in most situations, employees prefer little input from their supervisors. So if you feel that supervisors do not need much input, I think the slide sharing is stopped, but let me read the questions one more time for you. So the question one was, in complex situations, supervisors should let employees work problem out on their own. Second question, leadership requires staying out of the way of employees as they do their work. Third question, as a rule, leaders should allow employees to appraise their own work. Fourth question, supervisors should give employees complete freedom to solve problems on their own. And the last question is, in most situations, employees prefer little input from their supervisors. So what we are trying to deal in this kind of leadership, and it is very funny because this leadership trait is less visible. So this is called let it be, where the leader is giving complete autonomy to the resources and not even bothering to take feedback or not even bothering to what is happening. So these kinds of leadership, they generally come into picture when there's a crisis situation, when there's a need of them to get involved, and they expect that employees would collaboratively come up with something. But it is not a way of leadership that we generally promote. Only in certain situations this could be one of the way, but generally we talk good about the democratic leadership or the strategic leadership, where the leaders are taking in charge of the situation and of their own resources. So that is the 3 leadership style, that the quiz that I wanted to do with you people. All right, so we have reached the end of our session. I had great time delegating these factors that I've been building throughout the years, and it's beautiful how leaders deal with their organization, and especially when we are talking about digital transformation. Nowadays, a lot of companies are using AI and cloud computing, but all of this comes down to only one thing: are your employees ready for this change? Are your leadership people ready for this change? So for that, you have to have a session or brainstorming community where you talk to your people and try to find out what is their roadblock, what are their hurdles. And only when you know the right hurdles, then you would be able to walk into the journey of digital transformation. Because if you are not providing something distinct, then in the long run you might go extinct, and that is what we don't want to do with our organization.